You're not happy with the APA's recent guideline
I am
on
absolutely ashamed to call myself a psychologist in the aftermath of the APA's
Let's just say what it is. What exactly did they say?
Well, they said it was guidelines for the treatment of boys and psychological treatment of boys and men. But that isn't what it is. It's a social justice treatise on how you better think if you're a psychologist, if you don't want to be pursued. That's exactly what it is.
But what they actually said was that traditional masculinity was harmful. And one of the arguments
they said for two reasons. Two reasons. Compromised the mental health of boys and men and presented a social danger. And it's an absolute bloody lie. And here's how you know. It's very straightforward. Biggest risk factor for long-term delinquency, antisocial behavior, and violent criminality.
In boys,
fatherlessness.
Fatherlessness.
Right, okay, so let's walk through it. Okay, so the idea is that boys are socialized to be pathologically masculine by men. We're assuming they're fathers. Okay, so then why is it in families with no fathers that everything falls apart? And then, like, no one disputes that that's the case. They don't cover that in that damn article. So, and then they also assume that aggression is socialized. It's like, no, aggression is innate. Peacefulness is socialized. And how is it socialized? Well, men, for example, one of the things that men do with their young boys is wrestle with them. They rough and tumble play with them. Well, what is that? Well, it's aggression. It's like, no, it's not. It's play. And what do you do when you're rough and tumble playing? It's like you show the boy, and the girl too, because it happens with girls, how much they can exert themselves physically and still have the game continue. What hurts and what doesn't, how far someone else can be pushed, how much feinting and tactical maneuvering you can do, how much you can be extended, how you can trust if you're thrown in the air. Like, these things are fundamentally important. And men do a lot of that. And they regulate that article is just, it's absolutely scandalous what they've done. They've inverted it's not even wrong. It's anti-truth. It's worse than wrong.
I'll play devil's advocate, at least in part. There was a book, I think in the 80s by David Gilmour, not the one from the Pink Floyd, Manhood in the Making, where he said that the common denominator in most cultures, not all, is that maleness is associated with suppression of emotions. He had a Nancy Kodorov kind of argument for the psychoanalytic side, but he said, if you look at cultures, manhood is a test of endurance almost everywhere. So like they would, in some cultures he surveyed, they would torture you, and if you flinched, you lose your manhood.
Yeah, right.
So would you consider that part of masculinity harmful?
Well, it depends on the degree to which it trains you to endure. It's like, look, there's all these...
But would you say it's defined by suppression of feelings? Because that's what they say.
Not if it's done in a sophisticated manner. It's defined by the what would you call? By the sophisticated integration of the emotions. It's like you're gonna be facing hard things, man, in your life. It's like you're gonna break down. And I mean, look, I'm saying this as a very emotional male, right? Like, my proclivity to tears has been overwhelming all my life, and so.
Sometimes in your talks.
Yes. And so I'm saying that, knowing that about myself. What's wrong with the ability to endure? Like, lots of times endurance is what you have. When things are really going badly, and they will, you have the ability to put one goddamn foot in front of the other. And maybe you're even manifesting negative emotion about it, but that doesn't mean you stop. You don't stop. And that's not just a cardinal element of masculinity, although it is in the symbolic sense. It's a cardinal aspect of the development of a forthright character. You want your children to be able to endure. We're so naive. It's like, no, you want them to be happy. It's like, yeah, fine, but what about when they're not happy? What about when they have a sick child? What about when someone's dying? You know, like, what? Well, they should be happy. It's like, God, it's thin gruel. It's a leaky boat. And so you train stalwart individuals to endure. Now, can that go too far? Well, obviously, you know, I mean, every culture can degenerate into cruel tyranny, you know, and they can engage in sadistic rituals that have this justification to train endurance. But what's wrong with endurance? And to inhibit emotion it's not to inhibit emotion precisely, it's to put things in their proper place. when you have people relying on you, including yourself, but when you have people relying on you, you don't get to quit. People die if you quit. They suffer if you quit. It's like,
if you're a parent, especially.
Yes, of course. And you know, and this is why I like the Christian metaphor, at least in part. It's like, pick up your bloody cross and walk up the hill. You know, and of course there's suffering and catastrophe associated with that. It doesn't mean that men should pretend that they don't have emotions, but you know, that's so obvious that it hardly needs to be discussed.